Day 5 of the February 97 7-day retreat in Springwater. Darkening clouds. Supposed to get cold again. And high winds. At least that's the forecast. Someone asked, is your mind still open for new discoveries beyond what you have discovered so far? How to respond to that? The open mind, meaning what? Curious, interested, not closed by ideas, prejudices, or driven by the desire for new experiences, new discoveries. Maybe somebody has something that I haven't discovered yet. And maybe an anxiety set up in the body. I've got to get that too. The open mind is the discovering mind. Mind here using a word that's somewhat wishy-washy. It can mean so many things to so many different people, as we discovered in one group discussion. One can refer to mind as the totality of consciousness, thoughts, remembrances, imagery, with all that's connected with that, the emotions, feelings, sensations. Of course, the constant chatter is what we usually describe as this mind in sitting. The mind doesn't want to be quiet. I wish I had a quiet mind. Thought activity or thought quieting, which is the quiet mind, just going about its business, the brain, keep this body going, the heart beating, blood circulating. Oh, incredible, mysterious functioning of this organism. When the brain is just busy with that, it is not noticeable that it is engaged, as when there are thoughts and worries and anxieties, anger. And to discover that, does the mind discover itself? Does it take thought to discover thought? That's what we call thinking about my condition. But that's not precisely discovery. Discovery is something beyond this mind as we have just defined it. The conditioned activity of thought, etc. To come upon that, to discover that activity is not activity of the mind as we have defined it. The discovery of human conditioning, which with all of its creations, seems infinite, doesn't it? Discovery of life in all of its manifestations, which includes the human, is infinite, isn't it? So as long as there's openness, there's going to be new discovery of the infinite manifestations of what? To give it a name, some have called that mind with a capital M, but it's just a word. Can one say that there is a discovery and there is discovering, seeing, awareing what is? Awareing the infinite changes and subtleties of manifestation, conditioning. And yet that awareing, seeing, beholding does not come in varieties. It is the same all the time, timelessly. What is discovered varies, changes, new forms, new manifestations. It is always one beholding, without judgment, without desire to change or meddle or interfere. Wanting more, that's conditioning. Awareness of the wanting more and how it manifests throughout this organism, that's the seeing. Awareing, the words are so incomplete. But awareness itself lacks nothing, needs nothing. There are no things to be discovered, no rain to drop, no birds to fly. Can there still be awareness? Right now it's the sound of raindrops on the roof. And the breathing, the being, the subtle sensations. No one owning them, no one controlling them. This question of control came up twice this morning. Let me go into what one person brought up. It was sort of a threefold concern. The first one was, if, as you and others say, everything is just images, it's illusory, the world is illusory, my wife at home is just an image, Why would I even go home again? Why would one get out of bed if everything is just illusion? See, it's such a subtle difference between making statements and wondering about what is going on in this mind as it reveals itself in silent observation. Is everything imagery? Pose the question, not take over what traditions say that yes, everything is illusion and image. To watch the movement of imagery. Is one's wife an illusion, an image? Right now, as we're sitting here and thinking of our spouses or children, they are imagery, aren't they? Doesn't mean that they're not at home. Very likely they're at home or at the office. Maybe not. We're very frail bodies. Something may have happened. But the image of the wife is not this flesh and blood, alive human being. And when we come home, can we see her without imagery? Remembrance of what she's meant to us in the past, what she's done or hasn't done, what I want of her, or what I'm afraid that she may see me as. Very complex imagery. And to be cognizant, aware of the play of imagery, interfering with our immediate direct encounter. How directly can we meet each other? That's a good question, to watch what goes on when we do meet together. The mind filled with what? The body tense with what? To observe it gently, spaciously. How difficult it is to be in direct touch with what we call what? Reality. We use that word. But what is the reality of a human being, of a raindrop, of a tree? Can we ever grasp it? We try to with concepts and poetry, description, psychology, science. Forever remains incomplete. And yet all of us embody this fullness, this wholeness of life, this instant. Beyond imagery, even though imagery dances around in the brain, which keeps churning it out, it's amazing to watch it. But to watch it and not to take it for the truth of what something is. Imagery, the truth of imagery is imagery. What is rain? Somebody told me this morning. I was worried about walking in the rain when it was 40 degrees, which it was this morning, walking in the rain at 40 degrees. And to their surprise, he said it was beautiful. Marvelous, the rain in the woods. It wasn't what one thought or imagined it would be. What is it really? Bother the head about it or walk in it. Let it drip on the face and wet the clothes. Or run off the waterproof garments. Squish, squish on the driveway. The sound of it, the feel of it. presence of it, the no preference of it, allowing it to be what it is, this moment only. So then coming back to the questioner, realizing that I have no control over what goes on in this mind. The thoughts, the images, the emotions. Is that a direct discovery that there is no controller, that things indeed happen as we put it on their own because we have to put it verbally in some way. But there is no doer. Try to find him or her. One can't. Because one wants to do something, one wants to stop imagery and it pours out that much stronger. Because in wanting to stop something, there's a lot of idea and image about being free of it. Washing blood with blood, it's sometimes called. Is one stuck in the thought process about there being no controller? That can be a depressive thought. I'm out of control. I may lose my mind. Heavy input into this sensitive organism, ready to react to words as though they were realities of danger. To behold it all, watch it all. The helplessness, as some people put it, to do something about what goes on. And maybe a sudden realization that there's awareness of it all. That it is all right the way it is or was. Because at the moment of thinking another thought about the thought of the past, it's already past. Someone else mentioned that this morning. Last night working so hard, sitting with all of these thoughts and then finally resorting to some old practices of chopping them off. Then going to sleep and dreaming and waking up and thinking about the dream and suddenly seeing that this is all one is. Thinking about dreaming. And yet, she said, it was seen, I saw it. Right now it's a memory. But then it was real. But wait, hold it. Seeing that it is a memory is also seeing. Is also awareness. But the mind is so judgmental, wanting what was clarity, the amazing all rightness of everything, wanting that back, seeing that now it is memory, and bemoaning the condition. Why can't it just be lightening up, seeing the memory, seeing the presence, seeing what's there, and hearing the rain at the same time? Because what is essential of the essence is that there's seeing, being, not what it is that comes up and disappears again. seems so difficult to just stay with the seeing, because the body is addicted to going with sensations, expectations of pleasure or avoidance of pain. But it can all sort itself out. And wash away with the rain. The third part of the question was, if there is no one in control, if I am not in control, how will I act morally, responsibly? You can already see the swirling of images that if I am in control, I will be morally responsible. Without that, the anxiety that things will go haywire, which they are going for human beings. We are pretty much haywire most of the time, with all the self-control we have learned over the millennia, and the laws, and the precepts, and the commandments. Can there be right action? Let's substitute right action for moral behavior. Right action not in contrast or opposition to wrong action, but right action, appropriate response to the situation as it presents itself this moment. Can there be right action if the mind is consumed with anxiety, wanting something, resenting something, resisting something? And in the midst of that confusion in which we live so much of the time, maybe remembering a precept when one has taken, or a law, or if one doesn't remember it, getting punished for it, so that next time we will know better. Which is the assumption, it doesn't work that way. Because action most of the time comes out of impulsiveness, reactiveness, laid down in heavy conditioning of the past. And yet, due to conditioning and learning, we think we need to trust controlled behavior, controlled by ideas, and are anxious whether we can trust not being in control, which does not mean being out of control, mentally disturbed or disabled. Will one give it a chance to experiment with it, to find out? Maybe find to one's amazement when the mind is not all absorbed with resentment, resistance, anger, but the energy is gathered in being here, now, the raining, the breathing. That it becomes quite clear and natural what to do when an emergency arises, when somebody needs help, when oneself needs to rest. And at such times doesn't mean that the mind needs to be clear of thoughts, but thoughts and imagery are seen to be just that. Because then seeing is in place, it's operating. And just as thoughts and images and ideas are seen, so is the rain heard, and the situation in which one finds oneself, including the people who participate in it, have a transparency. I don't mean something magical that people become transparent, one can see their hearts inside their bodies. We always are attracted and driven to the magical. No. With oneself just part of the whole picture, but not dominating it and taking over all the space, it becomes quite clear where everyone is. Their expression, their body language, their needs, their questions. And response arises out of the totality of situation, perceived openly. Not that the mind has to bother going into remembrance of precepts mode or commandments mode. At that moment there's already some kind of a fracture, some kind of a contraction. What was I supposed to do? How was I supposed to act in this situation? It is withdrawing from the wholeness of this moment, which is so generous in saying and in indicating what needs to be done. Because out of the presence, this moment, not all consumed with my needs and desires and fears. They've been watched, they're seen for what they are. In this being here, awarely, there is compassion, natural compassion, not practicing compassion mantras or meditations. I don't know, people often ask me about this. I've never done it, so I can't speak about that practice. But I do know that compassion is right here when the smog lifts. Compassion and wisdom, the wisdom of right action. Not from the books, but I remember wise people did in such and such a moment. This moment has never even happened before. It's not a duplicate of something. And it needs that freeing oneself from the restraint of thinking I ought to act in certain ways and trusting this moment of presence. Now, trusting the moment of presence can become an idea again, candid. The mind is instantaneous in picking it up and solidifying it into formula. What to do, how to proceed, how to talk to others. It does that, and one watches it with amusement. That something live and breathing can become something dead, codified so quickly. So, where does this trust come from? It comes from living that way. It works. Not all the time. We're not into forever and all the time. These are also brain productions. Time is a brain production. Does one have glimpses of that? Something ought to be like this forever. It's thinking, isn't it? Thinking and desiring, wanting this rather than, or wanting that was rather than this which is. Or when this is easy and light, wanting this to last forever. It's brain work, isn't it? Thought, imagination, masquerading for reality. The reality is that at the moment of thinking, I wished it would last forever, it's already gone. And the openness has closed, contracted, to the channel of wanting, palpable, like a tunnel with a light at the end. So the trust comes out of experiencing the wisdom and compassion of this moment. As it happens. And if it blows over, making room for different weather, dark clouds, colder winds, why resist it? Why hassle with it? Watching the conditioned reaction to do that. We all do it. We infect each other with that habit. Wanting something other than what is. Because the imagination is able to project the better state from the past or into the future. Animals, I don't believe, have this vivid imagination of better places to be. Although that squirrel down there, did someone watch it this morning? Sitting on the bird feeder, you could see it get round with black oil sunflower seeds. Probably will remember that place and come back. And the deer obviously know where there's good food in the wintertime, coming right up also to what the squirrel drops down from the bird feeder or the birds drop. So there is some image formation and memory of what is a good feeding place, and to come back to it. But we're obsessed with this all the time. That what we're about right now could be better, is not good enough, should be changed. It's too this or too that, or too little this or too much that. Can we behold it all? Not that we're doing it, it's the language that postulates as there is a we or an I. Letting go of ideas of what a clear mind is like, what a good meditation is like, and be with what's there. Maybe heavy, painful, exhausting, or blissful. And yet something is happening, and that is the being with it all. Person who said, now it's just memory. This morning it was real, it was really seen. Now we're with a memory. Don't have to put it like that to ourselves, but it happens. There is awareness, just just like little mica glittering in the ashes. There's bird song, isn't there? Is there an image of birds? See the image, see that the image is not the or is the mind so stuffed that it can't hear? It doesn't matter. There's awareness of a stuffed mind. The awareness is what matters, not what it reveals. That is secondary. Even though this is where the fascination or the repulsion lies for human beings. So how quiet can it get? Inwardly, let's say, inwardly. How quiet can it get? And listen to the noise inside and out. The sounds, if it is not noise. Quieter and quieter and quieter. There's no one there doing it. It all happens spontaneously, on its own. We will end here for today.